Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in as we are live with Hoopsville. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, coming to you, presented by D3Hoops.com from the Hoopsville studios. Hope you are well. If you got questions for us, you can always interact with us on the social medias. You can find us on X, Instagram, Threads, also Blue Sky now. Just look for us wherever you choose. It's probably the easiest answer. Just look for D3 Hoopsville or Hoopsville, or use the hashtag Hoopsville. Lots of ways you can interact with us. We hope you will take advantage of those as much as possible. You also have email at just send them to Hoopsville at d3sports.com. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Or is it? Actually, it's D3 Hoopsville there as well. YouTube's D3 Hoopsville. Sorry, Facebook's Hoopsville. Lots of ways to get interaction with us. We're simulcasting on Facebook and YouTube as well. You can interact in the live chat room should you be joining us there live. So on and so forth. Lots to get to this evening. We'll start with a little bit of news. First and foremost, the new men's top 25 is out. And actually, let me double check something. Week 10's top 25, we should point out. Wesleyan had 22 first place
last week with
621 votes, which basically means somebody had them other than one. Or I should say, of the three voters who didn't have them one, I think someone must have had them third. Illinois Wesleyan had 3 first place votes. Illinois Wesleyan lost 2 games this week. As a result, Wesleyan now has 24 of the first place votes. The voter who isn't voting on number 1 has them number 2 because they got 624 of a possible 625 total votes. Is that right? I think that's right. I'm going to double check that because you never know. Yes, I am right on that. NYU is the new number 2 team, moving up a spot. Platteville is the new number 3, picking up a first place vote, I would assume, from whoever has them number 1. Hampton-Sydney is up to 4, up a slot. Emory jumps 6 spots from 11 to 5. Interesting, in my opinion, that they would jump that high. I know there were a lot of other results out there. St. John's jumped from 9 to 6. Wisconsin Lutheran went from 8 to 7. Randolph-Macon from 12 to 8. La Crosse from 13, La Crosse from 6 to 9. I'm not sure, unless people had La Crosse ahead of Platteville. I did not. I had La Crosse behind Platteville in the first place, and so they lost to Platteville by 10 and then beat Eau Claire by 5. I left La Crosse exactly where I had him. I left Platteville exactly where I had him. Trinity, Connecticut went up from 13 to 10. Trine went from 7 to 11. Remember, they lost to Hope midweek. Christopher Newport moved up to 12th, which we're going to have to change some of our data because our show page was created before the new top 25 came out. Illinois Wesleyan fell from 2nd to 13th. I saw somebody's ballot still had him 6 after an 0 for 2 week. That kind of surprised me, to be completely honest. Tufts went from basically 15 to 14. No real movement there. Whitworth 16 to 15. Redlands 19 to 16. WPI held firm at 17. St. Thomas held firm at 18. Wash U fell from 10 to 9. Denison moved up a spot to 20. Keene State up a spot to 21. Calvin up a spot to 22. Cal Lutheran was the one who slid down to 23. So basically, Cal Lutheran was ahead of those previous 3, slid behind those previous 3. Chicago stayed pat at 24. Trinity, Texas enters the top 25 in 25th. Anderson fell out. Carthage is on the outside looking in, along with Catholic, Roanoke, Gustavus Adolphus, John Carroll, Drew, Bellhaven, Virginia Wesleyan, Pitt Bradford. Anderson, just 7 first place votes now. 7 total votes now. Claremont Mudscripts, and then Maryville. That rounds out the total. We'll probably get the women's one by the end of the evening as well. By the way, quick note as I look up on my screen. If you're still seeing a delay, I'm working on it. I'm I think you also see the delay in the audio on the ads that we run to, which means I'm 99% sure it is not our system. It's somewhere on the other end before it branches out to the world. So hopefully it's not too bad. We do have a slight delay built in, and I'm talking like 0.2 of a second, because we do have something weird on our end, but I don't think it's not materializing with everything. I could be wrong, though, and we'll look into it. Mark Newman joining us on the YouTube says the studio looks good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Some new jerseys hanging on the walls. I noticed we can't seem to get all the jerseys featured. We're going to keep working on this. I usually, with the interview segments, here's the other interview cam, by the way, quick note, so you can get some of the other jerseys featured. This is the interview angle, and we usually kind of square it off. I might go back to rectangles for interviews. We'll see. We'll keep playing with this. We're trying to feature as much as we can when we can, and that's one way we can do it. A little bit of news that we broke on Friday. Wentworth Tech, better known as either WIT or Wentworth men's basketball, is currently being coached by their women's coach. We broke this on Friday. We hoped we'd have more news today. We have not got more news. The Wentworth website continues to be not reflective of that information. Our website does. Kelly Cole is listed on our website actually, I shouldn't say we have them listed properly. I apologize. That's wrong. Arlen Galloway is listed on our website. We're still waiting for Wentworth to make that information public. They have not. They still have Arlen and his complete coaching staff listed on the website. We saw last week at Curry that Kelly Cole was coaching the team along with her assistant. So she and her assistant appear to be coaching both. There were two assistants on the men's team who were assisting. I'm 99% sure one of them was Jerry McAuliffe. I'm not sure if the other was Jason Finkst or Eli Harris, to be completely honest. It was a little hard to tell from the camera angle. That continued on Saturday. We have reached out to a number of individuals, including Wentworth themselves. Not heard back from anybody. We know there's a lot of scuttlebutt going on out there, especially in New England, and it's spreading beyond, regarding what this may involve. We have no corroboration on any of that. So I have no way of reporting that properly. I could certainly tell you the rumors, but what point would that serve? But we have not heard anything official from the school. We've not heard anything official from anybody else. We have not really been able to talk to anybody else other than got wind of this, started to do some digging when it started to make a little bit of national news as well on Friday, got in a position we felt comfortable to report what we saw on camera at the Curry game and what we were seeing on the website. So we reported that Friday. I went through the weekend, no changes. So we repeated that information on Monday, other than Kelly Cole continuing to coach the program, which you could see on Saturday. Now, Kelly Cole got wins, and that program got wins, 2 straight now. Interesting enough, for Kelly Cole, that's her first 2 conference wins, first conference win in general, but first 2 in over 3 years. They have not won on the women's side in conference. So, interesting scenario going on at Wentworth Institute of Technology up in New England. For those of you who aren't familiar, they are located in Boston, WIT or Wentworth Tech or Wentworth. Arlen Galloway is in his 12th season technically. Again, have not heard anything official. Again, have heard rumor. If those rumors are accurate, it's not great. But I don't know all this. And literally, I've heard different versions of the same story. So another reason you can't report it. But that's one move we heard. Another one that we got wind of, and actually didn't get wind of, it flat out happened, was down in Region 6. At Greensboro. Jim Boone is out as the men's coach there. They're having a pretty decent season, or mark ahead of this season. They're 4-17. This year, they're on a 4-game slide currently and lost 7 of their last 9. But Boone is out. He's not even on the website anymore, which seemed a little bit maybe aggressive, would be the term I would use. Michael McDuffie is listed as the assistant coach. You got to figure he is interim. I'm not sure they put anything on their website about this officially either, but Boone apparently sent an email to everybody. This was shared by others. I've seen a screenshot of it indicating that there is a health issue within the family that has taken his time, his thoughts, and his efforts, and he needs to focus on that. More than 400 wins with Jim Boone. He certainly has, I think, enough leeway there that he could have maybe taken a step back and taken a break and not left the job, but apparently left the job. So Greensboro men's basketball is open as well, though the women are not, from what I can tell, coaching that one. Greensboro's had a little bit of upheaval in the last couple of years. That certainly isn't going to help, but we wish our best to Jim Boone. So those are some of the big headlines coming into today. Again, Illinois Wesleyan men going 0 for 2, losses to Carthage and North Central. They weren't the only ones unscathed this weekend. Cal Lutheran lost to Redlands in a game that my poll said they would. What was the other one? Wash U has now has lost three straight, including 2 to NYU and 1 to Brandeis. I don't think it's overly surprising to lose to NYU. This is that challenge, right, with the back-to-back weekends for everybody, and then the in the UAA conference where you play everybody who you played previously a second time as you pivot in conference play. So if they had beaten Brandeis and lost NYU, not surprising, but the loss to Brandeis jumped out. Now, Brandeis is not a bad team. UAA is a tough schedule, tough conference this year. But I think if you're a top 25, top 15, top 10 program, you want to be getting that win against Brandeis. So that stood out to me. Again, Illinois Wesleyan going 0 for 2 stood out to me. Trine losing to Hope, we mentioned that on Thursday's show, certainly stood out. Virginia Wesleyan played one game against Hampden-Sydney. Actually played them pretty decent. Lost, I think, by 18, but it was a decent game. But Hampden-Sydney, I've got in the top 10. Claremont-Mudd Scripps is the other one that was in my top 25. I don't think they were on anybody else's top 25 because they were receiving votes, but they didn't drop out of the poll. Excuse me. A little stuffed up suddenly. They went 0 for 2, lost to Redlands by 5. Okay, lost to Whittier by 5. Now, again, Skyac race, as we talked to Eric Bridgeland and we've talked to many others in the last, in a while. Skyac has gotten very good. Whittier is one of those reasons. Whittier's a good program. I just think if you're Claremont-Mudd Scripps, you don't go 0 for 2. The problem is Claremont, remember, here's the dynamic in the Skyac, right? Claremont-Mudd Scripps is so good that they have gone 0 for 2 before. They have had these stretches in the Skyac even last year and then go make an incredible run into the NCAA tournament. So that just gives you the dynamic, to say the least. We'll see how this all plays out. I love the Skyac. I think the Skyac's a lot of fun to watch. Now that I can watch them, to be completely fair. Hats off to Redlands on getting 2 wins this week. I think the win over Cal Lu and the win over Claremont-Mudd Scripps was huge for them. They're 18-3 now and moving up my poll. Got my poll right here. We can certainly talk more about it maybe later in the program. Let's talk about guests on tonight's program, shall we? Because we've got a good one on tap. First off, we're going to, in a few minutes, welcome in Christopher Newport, both men's and women's basketball programs. We've had him on before. We're going to change things up this time. We're calling it the segment Dose Reverse. You'll understand when we get into the segment what it all means. We're trying it out. We'll see how it works. We did make graphics, though, so we'll see how, if this works as well as we hope it will. We've got another school duo already preset for another version of this at a later date. But Christopher Newport, Bill Broderick, and John Krikorian will be joining us a little bit later to discuss all of that. Who else we got? Sorry, brain freeze here for a second. We also have, I actually meant to call this up, but I kind of put myself in a tough spot myself because I changed up how I do things, and as a result, I misplaced some things. Here, we'll do it this way. Then number 15, Tufts will join us. Brandon Linton will talk about his Jumbos men's team. Then Matt Ducharme will join us from Mass-Dartmouth women's basketball. JT Gritzmacher will join us from Wisconsin-La Crosse. And Matt Donahoe will join us from Catholic. I made 2 minor mistakes with today's show. Blinders on a little bit, trying to get guests. Love having Tufts on the show. We did just talk to Wesleyan last week. Probably should have skipped the NESCAC men on this Monday and gone somewhere else. I apologize to anybody else out there, though I'm looking forward to talking to Brandon. Catholic women are sitting in 3rd in the conference. Scranton's dominating that. You would think maybe we could talk to Scranton. I was so kind of focused on looking at programs we haven't had in a while that I kind of aimed at Catholic. But it's a great conversation. We actually talked to Coach Donohue earlier today. Already had a great conversation with him. Looking forward to that. So a little wonky, but we'll work on it. We'll figure it out. Thursday's show, a reminder, we're going to be on at 12 p.m. Eastern with that show. We're already working on guests for that. Looking forward to it, as you can imagine. Chip says you should probably wear a new jersey each show. That will get more on display. Sir, I appreciate you think I'm going to fit into all the jerseys I get. Some schools don't send us even jerseys I would have fit into in college, to be completely fair. So no, that's not going to work out. We have gotten some polos and shirts in the past. I almost wore one of them, a pullover tonight, then realized who one of my guests were and realized that wouldn't be a great idea. It's a rival of theirs. So we skipped that. We'll take a break. When we come back, Christopher Newport on Doc. First, we'll explain to everybody what dose reverse means when we talk to Christopher Newport. Bill Broderick and John Krikorian will join us. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops.com. Plenty more on tap as we look to figure things out around Division 3. I hope you'll join us and have fun with it all the same. Back with more after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I used to never really talk, ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit nabc.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC 1927. That's nabc.com or NABC 1927 on social media.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor. It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
Welcome back, everybody. I had a little bit of a glitch there. Not sure what happened, but we're back. Sorry for that. We'll keep moving along. It is going to take us just a little bit of a second here. It gives me a chance to mention, if you got questions for us, you can always email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. You can also join us on the socials. We'll do our best to interact with you wherever we can. And, of course, if our guests are live, we'll try and have you interact with our guests as well. Speaking of our guests, they're patiently waiting for me as we get ready to bring them onto the show. We're going to try something new today as we first bring in to the program our guest from Christopher Newport, Bill Broderick from the 10th ranked currently. We'll get a new top 25 here shortly this evening. Bill Broderick from the captains of Christopher Newport, and from the other captain's squad, it's John Krikorian. Program moved up from 12 to 14. First and foremost, gentlemen, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having us.
How you doing, Dave? Good
all
to
right,
see
so
you.
you're humoring me with a new segment, and so with a new segment comes graphics, because darn it all, that's what I like to do. We're going to call this Dose Reverse. I'm taking a page out of the Uno game, and because Uno does have a Dose version of that game, we're going with the Dose, and it's reverse, because it's reverse how we normally do this. I normally talk to you guys about what's great about your programs, what's succeeding, how are they going, the history and all that. This time I want you to talk about the other program. I want Bill to talk about the men's program and John to talk about the women's program. Not complicated at all. I'm sure we'll find a way to screw this up. But first and foremost, before we get there, I do just want to get a sense of how you guys are. Bill, how are you? How's the program? How's the season been going along?
Everything's been going well. I mean, we're Just we're moving along. We're just trying to heal up here before we get to the conference tournament. Feel like we're always trying to get people back, but so we're just hoping to get everyone back here before we go to Milwaukee, is where the C2C tournament is this year for the women. And we'll be heading out there. It starts on February 27th. So just looking forward to that. We still got 2 games left against our biggest rivals, Mary Washington and Salisbury. So looking forward to playing those guys both on the road and then making our way to Milwaukee.
Mary Washington's 8-14 this year. Salisbury 10-10. A little bit not what we're accustomed from those programs. Santa Cruz is 7-15. Also, just a bit of an off year. We'll talk more about that on the men's side. John, how you doing?
It's the best time of year to be a college basketball coach or player, So I think as usual, we challenged ourselves with a tough schedule here early. Learned a lot. We have tremendous guys on our team and leadership, and led by John Hines and Jamal Madison and Christian Wilson and Colin Hines. And I think we found our identity. I think we're very confident in who we are, which is the most important thing, I think, for any team. And now we get to see where we stack up as we head into the final run in the playoffs. And, I really like this group. They love being together, and there's no guarantee of any future success, but I'm looking forward to the journey.
You got 3 games left, 2 of them against Mary Washington on back-to-back and Salisbury. You're in the middle of the back-to-back with Salisbury. Salisbury's having a good year this year. Mary Washington seemingly not maybe as good as either we expected or maybe it was in my head that they were going to have a better year, but still not going to be easy. All right, so let's play this dose reverse. I want to hear the perspective of the other. And the point of this is, and while I know you guys don't necessarily always travel together, you don't have the traditional conference schedule that everybody has. You guys have been around each other's programs long enough to understand them, see how they work, maybe even steal some ideas from each other. So I'm kind of curious, Bill, what is it about John and that men's program, other than winning the national title, that you find so intriguing or works so well from your perspective?
I think the biggest thing that I respect about their program and what Coach has done since I've been here is, their mantra is tough and together. And I think they really, they really live towards that. I think whether it's here or on the road, if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves. They're extremely tough, battle tested, always play one of the top schedules in the country, and they stay together. I mean, it's no matter who's doing what, those guys stick together and get after it. And I had the pleasure of watching them beat Emory here when they were number 1, and it was, it probably wasn't even as close as the score, but it was quite a game. But I've always had a lot of respect with just how tough they are. Especially in the half court man defense. I think they do as good of a job as anybody.
Interesting, considering you're known for the chaos defense of 94 feet. Have you taken anything from what John and the men do that you say, hey, you know what, that could work for us?
Yeah, I think I've stolen at least one blob play based on out of bounds plays that we use. And I think just kind of some of the techniques I think that he does in his man and how they play things. I think we do. We've stolen a few of those things over the years. But, like you say, we kind of joke. We both get after it. They do it a little bit more half court. We do it a little bit more full court. But I just think the women's and the men's game is pretty different, too, when it comes to that.
John, flip it now. Back to you. What's Bill had at that program that has worked so well? They've obviously gotten to a handful of Final Fours. They've been a national runner-up. They've been pretty darn good, just like you have. What is it about Bill's program that you find so intriguing?
Yeah, I will tell you that I've been around a lot of coaches through the years, and I'm not sure on the men's side, the women's side, any other sport that I've seen coach and coaching staff just put forth the work and the effort and the attention to detail, and just love the grind of what it is to try to play at the highest level. And, it was evident when Coach came in, he had a Division I background and at a very high level, and he was going to instill that here. And I think it took just a little bit to get, the kids on board to what he wanted to do. And, once it took and he found those players that kind of fit his personality, and I think it's any good coach I've been around, has a team that they can coach, that the kids want to play for that coach. It fits their personality. And, he's found the best of those young ladies, and they are as well prepared and work as hard and put in as much time as any team I've been around. That's really impressive, to the point where, there's that really healthy, like, inner competition, I think, that happens when you have an elite men's and women's team. If I walk, it's really the little things, right? So if I come in the morning and there's a couple girls out there shooting around, my first thought is, where the heck's my guys? If I'm walking out of the office and Bill's still sitting there with his light on, burning the midnight oil, I'm kind of second guessing myself and thinking, do I need to loop back and put in a little extra here? So I really, the level of preparation and the work and the commitment throughout the program has been, I think.
Same question I asked him. Is there anything you've seen them do? I noticed you haven't taken the 94 feet of chaos necessarily, but is there anything that they do that you like or have stolen over the years?
Yeah, I stole his three-quarter court zone one time. It was like a 2-2-1 press, and we weren't great at that time, and we put it in, and I think we beat Randolph Macon that year with it, who was like second in the country, and it was a huge upset. And then we tried to continue to use it. We went to Lynchburg the next game and lost by about 150. I've never played a three-quarter court zone yet, but I do appreciate very much all that they do.
Yeah, sometimes when you reveal something, that everybody figures out what you do too and adjusts. John, I'm curious, when you watched their team during a game or during a practice, if you happen to stand in on one, what is it about the team itself that either Bill's been able to curate or the program's been able to curate that you find interesting, notable, whatever it is?
I think it's always fascinating. It's the program. Everyone, you can see, it's obvious. They're all engaged. They're all kind of marching to the same beat. They have a great rhythm. Everybody seemingly, I don't know the insides, but they seem to accept their role. To be a top 10 team and score 80 points and have nobody in double digits average. I mean, you're talking about really selfless players that care about the team much more than themselves, and you can see it. And whether you walk into practice in the last 5 minutes or the first 5 minutes, they got an energy to them and a team thing going that, sometimes we don't always have, so I really respect that.
Bill, I'll flip it around. So what's something about his program that you've either seen in games and practices or whatever about the team, what they do, whether it's this year or other years, that you find remarkable?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always impressed with how loud it is in the gym. We talk about a quiet gym is a losing gym, right? And I'm always really impressed with how much they're talking, especially on defense. That's something that, I always mimic to my ladies that we could do better. They really work on that. They really compete. It doesn't matter what drill it is. They just really get after it. And I think that's why when you get into big games against, Emory or Macon or whoever, you've already been battle tested. You do it every day. And so I think those are probably two of the biggest things that I really respect and and have seen since I've been here.
Along that vein, The stats tell us that John Hines leads the team at 18, almost 19 points a game, and Hollenbeck's at 15 and a half. You got two more guys in Henderson and Ward at 10 points a game. And Colin Hines, we don't want to forget about him, one of a couple of guys at 6, 7 points. They got a lot of options. That's what our stats tell us, Bill. If you were to tell someone you got to come watch Christopher Newport men's basketball, what are you going to tell them to be looking for? What are you going to tell them that we're going to spot that's going to stand out?
Well, I mean, like I said, I think defensively, any buckets the other team they're going to earn their buckets, and so I think they make it tough on the teams to score. I think John Hines obviously is, all of his accolades are due. He's just a phenomenal player to watch. When he's in rhythm and he gets into it, he's really unguardable. And I tease, I always say the same thing, not that he's LeBron James, obviously, but when John Hines is hitting his 3-pointer, he really literally is almost unguardable. And you watch him go for 30, 40 points. It's really impressive. Toa Hollenbeck, I mean, I really enjoy watching that kid play. It reminds me of myself back in the skinny days a little bit. But the kid's a gym rat. He's in the gym all the time, getting his shots up. You don't become that good of a shooter unless you're getting the repetitions in. I love watching Tyson at the point. We also have a great point guard. But really, since he's come in as a freshman, he just never seems rattled. Doesn't matter what's going on. He's always composed. I think that's really, really tough to do at that level. So they got a lot of guys. Ethan Ward, a little bit undersized. I mean, watching him give up 3-4 inches, against some of those top programs. And, that guy's a warrior, man. He's just battling on the boards. He finishes. He plays with emotion. Colin Hines, he is the Swiss Army knife. I mean, that guy can guard 1 through 5, block shots, hit a 3, run the point. I mean, he literally can do everything you want and just works really hard. Plays with a lot of emotion. You can tell he loves the game. And so it's a lot of guys that I really, really enjoy watching. And, Coach plays a lot of guys, but they kind of got like 7 warriors that play a lot more than everybody else. But they get after it, man. They really get after it.
Interesting enough, I should point out, the men are scoring 80.86 points a game, giving up 69.91. Women are scoring 80.91, just a smidge higher than the men by 0.05, but only giving up 53.3. John, on the women's side, they have nobody in double figures. 9.4 for Camille Malagar, 9.0 for Hannah Orloff, 8 points a game for Elizabeth Creed, 6 points a game for 3 different players in O'Connor, Kaloy, and Wilson. What is it? And by the way, you should point out, Kaloy, by the way, he's only played 10 games this season. There's also a bunch more who've got 5. What is it about Bill's team that if you're telling somebody to come watch this group, and we talk about the defense certainly, but what is it about his team that stands out and is fascinating to watch from that perspective?
Well, Dave, to answer the first part of the question that you asked Bill, and that was, what would you tell people if they were coming to watch the team? And what I always tell people if they're coming to watch the women's game is get there early. You better get there early.
True.
Because when he puts that press on, I'm telling you, it could happen fast.
Yeah.
Some teams can hang in there a little bit, and then you kind of, you watch and you see how long are they going to be able to hang in there. But their relentlessness on the defensive end and the consistency, it's really amazing. I mean, it's really remarkable. And there's no drop off, when he goes to the second string, the third string, or however they describe it within their team. There's no drop off in energy and effort and execution. And people think, and this is the the misnomer. People think they just run around. They call it chaos, and they think they just run around. And Bill maybe won't be happy because I'm give up his secrets here and stuff. But, there's a method to the madness. You can see the adjustments that are made. If a team starts to break the press in one way, they have a lot of different ways to manipulate their defensive space to keep you off balance. And you'll be watching the game, and a team might break their press. Timeout comes, and you're like, okay, curious to see how this is going to go. And next thing you know, they got 10 more turnover steals, and they're going the other way. But it's really impressive to watch, to see those kids playing with that kind of effort and discipline, and then to come down the floor. And one couple of things that Bill's always had, at least since I've been here, he's got a way for developing point guards. Seems to always have had just an elite leader, steady point guard that you could tell this is the go-to leader of the team, and that's Gabby San Diego, and she's just unbelievable on and off the court. Like, she's so representative of CNU, an ambassador for women's basketball. She's incredible, and he's had players like that at that position. And he's always had big kids inside to go to, always. Got somebody to throw it down there, and he's got Hannah and this Orloff girl. It's just they're so hard for other teams to guard down there, and they're so well skilled, and they get so much better. So I think between the defense, the leadership, the point guard play, the depth, and then being able to pound you inside when necessary, I mean, they got all the pieces. I'm really excited to see what they can do.
John, you got the first championship trophy. Bill, it just hasn't quite happened yet, but have you gone in and stolen it out of John's office at least and put it in your office to at least claim it's yours?
I think the trophy might be at Kyle McMullen's house, our AD. I'm not sure, but no, I think I think it's behind glass somewhere. He just he's got the little replica. His is gold, mine's silver. I might switch it out or whatever, but I couldn't be more happy for those guys. And it was, it wasn't our year. I mean, the injuries were just unbelievable. I couldn't believe to even get there and to play within 4 or 5 points with a team like that with all we went through. But, like I tell people, for me, there's no saltiness or whatever. It wasn't our time, and we're going to keep working. It was their time. It was meant to be. And I'm happy because, any kind of, championships, whether it was women's soccer and softball or whatever, any of that brings notoriety, but especially basketball. And our players, they hang out a lot. They have a great time. They put together their first ever little formal that they wanted to have, a basketball formal, to go out and to just eat and just kind of celebrate one another in the year that they're having and time that they spend together. We don't have as many winter sports, so our indoor track team usually doesn't come back until the start of the new year. So there's usually about 2 weeks where they're the only, people on this campus. And so, and they don't get in trouble. They do the right things and they just have a good time. So it's neat when you're able to do that. I mean, we joke around a lot with each other and we've never golfed together because it'll probably end up in a fight or something. So, but, and I'm horrible. So, but, even though our success, we do it pretty differently. And I was giving them a hard time because usually they don't score this many points, but when you have that much talent, I guess it happens. But, we kind of do things differently, but there's so much attention to detail. There's so much discipline. And then I think just with how hard our teams play, I've had other coaches and even D1 coaches ask me when we've scrimmaged and stuff like, man, how do you get them to play so hard? And the answer is they don't have a choice. Like, there's not an option. And so I think he does that as well. I think a lot of coaches are just scared to, pull someone or make one of those changes because they're worried about their job. And maybe I'm not smart enough, but I think when you have a culture and you have a way that you do things, I think both of us, I think that's one thing we really pride ourselves on. It doesn't matter how great a player is. We've had great players quit and leave, or we've had to do things to them, but the program, the standard of the program has to remain the same. And when you look at it, we are public schools in a private school world. Yeah. And so, in order for us to compete, and not have the endowments and those things, you've got to keep that. And so I've just, he's been a great help to me, he came from D1 as well. It's very different in how you do things, the roster size, all that. And so he's just been really helpful, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Dave, I have to talk about.
Sorry, go ahead.
Dave, I got to throw away. Coach mentioned he wasn't salty at all about the national championship. But that's not the most important thing around here. All right.
No, of course
not. There is a competition that occurs in October, and I am a little salty about it. We have a dance contest. The men's team versus the women's team. And, I thought we won it this year. Our guys put forth a lot of effort. I thought they were in sync, no pun intended. I thought they deserved to win. And, the women got it, and around here, that's way more important than the national championship. I'll be honest with you.
It is. And we won 3 of the last 4. And the one they won, I think half their team was dating the dance team. So they were getting personal training. And I felt that was really out of bounds. But, sometimes just to see a smile on Coach K's face, just to taste the dance championship. And it's at Midnight Madness. I mean, it's freshmen, newcomers, and it's intense. And the audience, by the way, the students vote. They decide. So there's no one to pay or anything. It just didn't get it done this year, and that's okay. They've got next year.
It seems to me like maybe the men's team was smart that year and knew how to get some good coaching. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while. We need
it's been a while.
Yeah, they use their resources, and we talked about
they use
that
their
with
resources.
the kids. So
yes, that liberal arts education came in handy. Gentlemen, before I let you go, I'm going to go to the wild card segment. You didn't know this was coming because I literally just had to make it up at the last minute. I can't have a reverse card without a wild card in this as well. So this is a chance for you to ask a question to the other or whatever you want to do. Do you have a question you've been dying to ask? John, since you lost this year at the dance competition, we'll let you have this one first.
I mean, there's not many things that we don't communicate to each other on a regular basis that I don't know. I guess I don't know your handicap.
Ooh.
What is your golf handicap?
Wow.
I like
it. That's, first of all, that's very personal, right? I mean, that's asking somebody their weight, and it's not good.
Sounds like it isn't a good number.
No, and I will be honest with you. I've never shot over 70. And so
over or under?
Over. I've never shot over 70. And so whenever I hit that 70th shot, I pick up my ball, I get in the car, and I go to the parking lot. And so I've never finished all 18, but
have you finished 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
I finished 9. Yeah, my best round ever is an 80. At a pretty small course, so it's kind of an asterisk 80. But
all right,
like everybody, I'm a mid to low 90s guy. So I don't know. He's the math guy. He went to Penn. I don't know, but whatever that is,
it's
I know
better
he's
than
out.
mine, sir.
Yeah, I mean he's got a membership to the, he's got the membership to the club. So I'm out in the backyard hitting plastic balls in the weeds. So, but
Bill, what's your question for John?
Man, that was a great steal. I mean, I mean, like he says, if we ever have anything going on, we just talk about it. The funny thing is both of our daughters are freshmen at UVA, which is pretty crazy. They don't room together. Yeah, I mean, man, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess if I got to be honest, I would want to know, what is your legit height?
Oh,
I mean, I don't want the program height. I mean, your legit height.
That's a shot across the bow.
What? The man went for my golf game, Dave. Come on.
I understand.
I'm not good.
No, it's legit. It's legit.
Yeah, I mean, I was once announced at 5'9".
No.
It happened.
Yeah. Nope.
Stevie Wonder was doing the announcements, or who?
1992. And
nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry, John. You're not nowhere close.
I had a lot of hair back then.
Not that much.
Not that much.
I think I might still have the program that lists me at 5'9". And if I can provide such documentation.
You can provide it, but as a broadcaster, I know those numbers are fudged more times than I can count. So
absolutely. And you know what? People make mistakes, and that's okay.
Sometimes they typo.
There is definitely typos. So, all right, I'll go with 5'9". I'll take 5'9".
I'm going to call a trainer, get an official measurement at some point. Gents, I appreciate you. This was fun. It's great to have you both on the show. You've done that before. I appreciate it, but it's fun to try something new this time around. I really do appreciate that. As always, though, we give the guests the final word. Bill, we'll start with you. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just really appreciate everything you're doing. I know you had some damage, some things kind of hold you down a little bit, but we just appreciate you persevering and continuing to support the game and doing what a lot of people don't. And it's great. We get a lot of people anytime anyone asks about where to go and how do I find out and where can I get stuff. I mean, you guys are the first place I send them. And so I don't know if you know this, we had one of your guys, Riley Zayas, came out and visited with us and came for a game. And man, what a classy young fella.
Yeah.
And represents you guys well. And it was just a pleasure having him, and we hope he enjoyed his visit to Newport News.
Yeah, Riley's been getting around to a lot of schools. I'm impressed with what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
John, any final thought?
Yeah. Hey, this was a cool segment, Dave. Thanks for having us on. I think it was a lot of fun for me, and I appreciate certainly all you do. And as you're talking, I wanted, because I know we hadn't spoken, but I want to just pass my thoughts on about Pete Medhurst.
Thanks,
Pete's somebody that I knew pretty well, and we stayed in touch from my time at Navy. And he and his family have been heavy on my heart, and I know you probably were pretty close with Pete. So
yeah,
I want to pass that on to you and the whole community, but I'll leave it at that.
Well, I should have reached out to you when it all happened, but I got it's a little overwhelming. But thank you. Appreciate that. I know Navy would appreciate that as well. You gentlemen, please take care of yourselves. We'll look forward to seeing what the programs do down the road. I didn't get around to asking it, but I know what the answer is. Someday we're going to get this C2C fixed for you guys, so you get some more dual trips traveling, though. Maybe don't take the golf clubs. I'm not sure. We'll see. Take care, guys. Good luck the rest of the season. Look forward to talking about the captains in March, and we'll see how everything goes.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Take care,
Dave.
John Krikorian, Bill Broderick joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. That was fun. We're going to do it again, I think, on Thursday, believe it or not. I think we're going to have more guests on Thursday. We are bonkers late because of that technical glitch. We're going to hit the break and get going. When we come back, we're going to talk Tufts men's basketball with Brandon Linton. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops. Back with more after this.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that. A lot more.
Sure, the game is important. But as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. And in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC 1927. That's NABC.com or NABC 1927 on social media. Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Well, I got to make sure. Good, I have the right mic on. Every once in a while, I come back from a break early and I forgot to do one setting. You're listening to Hoopsville. I'm Dave McHugh. Welcome back in. Lots to talk about in Division III, running a little bit behind, but if you got questions for us, you can certainly join us. Chip joining us on our YouTube page talking about the question Bill asked John at Christopher Newport about his height. Chip says that's his AAU roster height. That's pretty good. John Krikorian is not 5'9", folks. Love him to death, but absolutely not. All right, pivot, heading up the East Coast, heading up to the Boston area, accidentally going NESCAC men's basketball twice in a week. That's not normally how we do it, but the Jumbos are having such a good season. Brandon Linton is once again got his squad clicking on all cylinders. They're up to 14th in the latest top 25, which is not something to shake a stick at because the top 25 is at this point so difficult to be really just ranked in the first place. What does it all mean, though? So joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline to talk about it is the aforementioned head coach of the Jumbos. It's Brandon Linton. Coach, first off, thanks for coming back. 19-4 this season. You guys back-to-back 20-win seasons, 20 and then 21 wins last year. We talked to you earlier in the year, last year before really the conference action got rolling. And it kind of beat you guys up a little bit last year at 5-5. Got into the NCAA tournament nonetheless. Got past a pretty good Stockton and a pretty good NYU team, and then saw your favorite foe, Trinity, in the round of 16, and they showed you the exit door. How much is last season motivating you guys?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on again, Dave. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you do for D3 Hoops. But yeah, last year has definitely been motivating us with so many returning players from last year's team. It's easy to carry last year's disappointments into this year, and it's definitely been something that we've been carrying with us.
Start off the season this year, wins over Bridgewater, Emerson, Suffolk, Endicott, and MIT. Tripped up against WPI before right around Thanksgiving, right before November closed out, 74-61. Picked yourselves back up a few days later, rolled over Emmanuel, got a huge win over Keene State by 4 the next game out, beat Rochester, then Brandeis, who's showing its teeth in the UAA right now, and beat Clark before Nichols then knocked you guys out. It seems to be end-of-month issues in November 30th, December 30th. What was that sequence like, for this season? Yeah, knocked off WPI, first half, I should say. Nichols got you too. But what was the consensus of the beginning of this year, how things rolled? You come out, into the new year with 2 losses, but 10 wins. What was the temperature?
Yeah, a little mix of everything. Obviously, we had graduated two great senior leaders from last year's team, Jada Turley and Casey McLaren, who did a lot of the heavy lifting from a voice standpoint, just leadership in general. So anytime that happens, no matter, how talented your roster is, I think you find out, at different points, maybe the hard way, what you have to do and, certain things that you have to abide by from a leadership standpoint. And quite frankly, the new leadership group just needs time to figure that out. And I think we just took growing pains. WPI, they're still one of the top teams and probably not getting enough credit in terms of how good they are. So, yeah, obviously we want to go undefeated, but, inevitably you go up against really great teams that are well coached, and WPI was definitely one of those games. And then the Nichols game, I think, one trend that we've seen all year is we haven't been great sometimes in those back-to-back environments. And that Nichols one was just a game where obviously you give credit to them for winning. But, I think on our end, we didn't show up with the right, mentality and effort, and it cost us. And I think for both of those, losses or lessons, combined with some of those great wins, I think it, helped us going into, winter break to talk about, hey, we're a really good team, but we also have things that we need to make sure that we're, doing internally to put ourselves in a good position to get W's.
Certainly. Well, the new year started nicely. Wins over Yeshiva, Widener, Bowdoin, Colby, Williams, and Middlebury, along with Conn College. And then you ran into the top of the conference in Wesleyan and Trinity, back-to-back losses. Trinity just seems to have your number right now. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I want to talk about Wesleyan. Lost by 3, but kind of played kind of a lower scoring game than maybe many would have anticipated coming into the season, or coming into the right now you're scoring about 77 points a game, so even underscored for you, 69-66. What is it about this Wesleyan squad this year? They are still undefeated, but you got to within 3 at their place. That's a pick 'em. That's comes down to the end type game. What is it about them? What was it about that game that just slipped out of your hands?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, Coach Riley, not only in the NESCAC, but nationally, any level, is one of the premier coaches, that you'll find. It's been now 4 years in a row of playing against Wesleyan and, coming down to a tight game and, Coach Riley figuring out a way like he always does. But he's got that group absolutely humming on both sides of the ball, especially defensively. But I think the second thing that, looking at that group, the continuity is everything. They're obviously really talented, all across the board. They've got shooting at all different spots. They've obviously played defense like I talked about, but that group was together, the same group all last year, and their record might not have, looked like a team that was a top team. But if you dig deep, they were in every game, lost some tough games. Shoot our game at our place last year, they we were able to kind of steal it from them late and win it in overtime. So they've, they were showing those signs last year and just were on the unlucky side. So, I think us in the NESCAC knew coming into this year that, that was going to be a top group, but they just play so hard, so together. And Coach Riley does a great job with pushing all the right buttons.
You didn't have much time to think about it because the very next day you were at Trinity, technically down the street in NESCAC terms, to take on the Bantams, and it wasn't a game, to be honest. Brandon, it was 81-45. They outscored you 34-19 in the first half. If you had held them scoreless in the second, you would have won by 11, but they put up 47. You guys shot 4 for 28 from beyond the arc. They out-rebounded you by, I think, 9 turnovers. They got you by 10. What was it about this game, this meeting? Do we read something into it? Is there parts of it we don't understand? You played a lot of players, so did they. Well, it jumped out at me as a surprising result.
Yeah, I'd like to find an easier back-to-back than or a tougher
Fair.
say than Wesleyan into Trinity.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Trinity's obviously got our number right now, and that's another thing that I think this group is motivated by. But at the end of the day, that was complete domination by Trinity. It's hard to take much from it other than they were just a better team that day. You could pick on a lot of different things to point to say maybe in a different environment, a different result. But going back to last year, we're going 4 in a row now where they've been the better team. So, Coach Cosgrove is another one, along with Riley, where guys that have been around for a while. He's been doing a great job there, for a bunch of years now. And, they got great players as well. So, it's tough. Obviously, it's, unfortunately, we've talked about a couple lessons now with some losses that we've had to take. But, I think that's just another one that we got to add to our resume. We got to own it. And, I felt like it set us up for what I thought was our best week of the season so far. So, not ideal, not our best showing, but I think a lot of credit has to go to Trinity and just how they kind of squeezed us, honestly.
Your advantage is you're playing at home to finish things out. You've already gotten 2 wins under your belt. You did to Amherst what the Trinity did to you, beat them 90-51, then beat Hamilton 84-69. Hamilton's having a really good year. And you beat them, I wouldn't say handily, but 15 points is certainly impressive. You've got Bates coming to your place to close out the regular season before the conference starts. Your team is outscoring opponents by 13 points a game. That's top 20 in Division III. You're one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the nation, top 15 in rebounding margin, top 20 in blocks per game, top 30 in assists to turnover ratio. There's a lot of things that this team is doing well. Joe Medley's holding the ball very well. You're getting double doubles. I'm not going to say Scott's last name properly, so help me out.
Jamesi.
Okay, I'm overthinking it. I'm gonna ignore one of the two back-to-back letters in Y and I and just Jamesi. He's playing extremely well. His field goal percentage is top 10 in the nation at 63%. Top 16 in rebounds total, top 25 in defensive rebounds. This is just him, top 36 in rebounds per game. That's him. We didn't mention James Morcus at 17 points a game. Dylan Riley's at 10 points a game. Joshua Bernstein's at 10 points a game. Yeah, you had a couple losses there, but you've got a lot of things working well with this group.
Yeah, no, it's a fun roster. Great group of kids, first and foremost, that are all about the right stuff. They all want to be good. They all want to do it together. They're bought into one another. They're bought into, the messages from myself and our coaching staff. So it's fun, and not spade to spade. It's a very talented group. I think that's the biggest thing about it. Scott, like you mentioned, is just one of those rare, players at this level that could literally do everything, and just goes about his business the right way. Josh Bernstein, again, just a guy that is continually his ceiling is infinite, because at his size and his ability to move and, just all the tools that he has on the offensive side and also defensive side of the ball, it's fun to coach. Dylan Riley's coming into his own as a sophomore. 3-and-D guy, one of the best shooters in the country, and we've tasked him with guarding a lot of the premier big wings that we play against, non-conference and in-conference play. John Medley, as a sophomore, carbon copy of what I just said about Dylan. He's taken the best small guard that we have, and he's got the craziest assist-to-turnover ratio in conference play. I think it's like 7-1 or something like that. So he's just bought in there. And then, like you mentioned, James Maracus, he's been a fun one to watch grow and develop. I think he's got so much, talent and potential, and he's starting to realize it. He's gifted as a scorer, but, I think when he's, kind of stirring the pot and getting everybody involved and then picking his spots, when to go, when not to go, I think we're a tough team to contend with. I could talk all up and down our roster. I think our bench has been huge. We have a talented freshman class that's just not getting opportunities right now, that's pushing all these guys and keeping them honest. So I think it's, the environment is competitive and filled with great kids. And I think when you have that, you could give yourself a chance to have some success.
This team shoots 48% from the floor. That's top 25 in the nation. It allows 39% from the floor. That's top 25 defensively. I was going to make a snarky comment that you're shooting 48% from the floor thanks to Scott. Scott's 63%, but Joshua Bernstein, he may not qualify for the ranking. He shoots 66%. He's 96 of 145. When you go into practice, though, what is it? And I know you don't want to give away anything to anybody's watching, but what is it this team is still not doing great that you're working on, that you hope to improve as you head to start eyeing the NESCAC tournament and then start eyeing March?
Yeah, I think, like any team, just consistency. I think, in a lot of ways, we got, like I said, 2 sophomores starting, a junior class that, has been playing over their careers, but the first time that they're at the forefront as leaders. I think consistency is the number one thing that a relatively young group is still trying to master. So, when we're consistent about our approach and attention to detail with things, we're in good shape. And when we kind of stray from stuff and get a little off track, I think, we could tend to struggle. But I think, obviously our inside play is a big focal point, and we've got some talented playmakers getting downhill. I think our 3-point shooting is the thing that, we're confident in, but at the same time, I think, that's the area that we're always making sure offensively that we're doing a good job with generating great looks, then just having good players step up and knock them down. And defensively, again, rebounding, I know it's something that's a strength of ours, but that's the thing that we're most paranoid about, is just making sure that that standard doesn't dip, because in our league, when you get to the NCAA tournament, it's paramount that you're able to rebound the basketball. So we're always focusing on that and, trying to make sure that there's no slippage there.
You are knocking on the door of your 100th career victory. You're 99-44 in your 6 years, 2 at Nichols, now 4 at Tufts. Take away the COVID year, 2021 at Nichols, where you went 5-5. That's 5 seasons, essentially, with almost 100 wins. You have 1 season where you didn't win 20 games. Again, not counting the 2021 where you only played 10. And it was 13-10 your first year at Tufts. 21 wins your first year at Nichols, 20 wins, 21 wins. You're going to have another 21 season this year, it looks like. What is it about you as a coach, what you bring to a program, what you look for in recruits, whatever it is that you learned at Clarkson or whatever it is you learned in your coaching stops before becoming a head coach? What is it that has been has gotten so much a response from the Nichols and now Tufts programs, especially Tufts maybe where it was kind of it was completely rethink, because you're not who the former coach was, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an impossible question for me to answer. I don't, it's going to be.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't. It's funny. Every coach is, delusional and paranoid and impossible.
Fair.
But yeah, I think I just have been the benefit of a lot of great people. Honestly, you mentioned that I've been at some great schools with some great coaches that I've played for or had the chance to work with, and that have poured into me along the way and continue to do so. I think the one thing that I'll pat myself on the back for is being able to hire great people. Both stops at Nichols and now at Tufts. Aaron Laredo, he's now at Stonehill. He was at ENC as a head coach. That was my first hire as a coach at Nichols for the first time, trying to figure out what's going on, and to be able to nail that hire with Aaron, was just crucial. Sam Moser, Marcos Echeverria, they're at Nichols, coming here to Tufts. Joey Keisel, one of the great players in NESCAC history, on staff here with us that first year. Colin Ritchie, who's now at Holy Cross. Tommy Eastman, great player at Middlebury, currently with James Holmes, who he might be the real key. Everywhere he goes, NCAA tournaments follow. Chris Leiden, Claudio Baratti, currently on our staff. Just 3 guys who the guys absolutely love. They recruit the heck out of kids during the summer months. And I'm just fortunate to have great help, and it's resulted in having great players that allow us to have a chance. None of this would be possible if we had a bunch of, nobody's running around out there. Trust me, I don't think I'm that good of a coach. So great people, great coaches, great players, and, just trying to coach in a fashion that makes sure that, hopefully guys get the most out of their experience. That's the one thing that still sticks with me is that first year at Tufts, with a lot of guys from the returning 2020 championship team, kind of falling short. I think that, that's something that, will always stay with me. And, while I'm here at Tufts, I always want to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again.
If memory serves, it came down to Tufts or Bowdoin. You had a choice to choose. I'm thinking it probably worked out pretty well for you. You've got to be thrilled with the decision you made, but also you got to be thrilled with how well it's been going overall. It's not lightning in a bottle when you've been doing it this consistently and a tough NESCAC. You've made Tufts. What Bob Sheldon left, a 23-win season in the NCAA Tournament, you've been able to continue, and this has worked out pretty nicely.
Yeah, Coach Sheldon, man, I just had a chance to see him this past weekend. We had a alumni weekend, and we honored the 2020 championship team. He's been great. He's been super supportive, and along the way during my transition here, replacing him. It's you could be at any one of these NESCAC schools and be the luckiest. Yeah. I mean, it's 11 terrific schools. All of them have their differences, in good ways, what I mean, that make them special. So, those 2 years I spent at Bowdoin were terrific. Actually, it ended up leading me to my now wife. So it's a special place for me at Bowdoin as well. Tufts, obviously, being here, now I'm completely biased, but there's nowhere in the country, honestly, at any level that I think has a combination of things that, we're afforded to here. So just lucky, just fortunate, grateful for being in a position to be the head coach here at Tufts.
Yeah, it's certainly been fun to watch from afar. Congratulations. I'm sure Pat Scary's calling and giving you a hard time left, right, and center, right?
Oh, yeah, Pat. I can always count on a good text from Pat after a good win or sometimes a tough loss. So, yeah, I think he just celebrated a huge milestone too. So
yeah,
it's been fun.
Yeah, that team's rolling around. 10 straight wins now. We'll see them again on Thursday, which is why we'll be on at noon here on Hoopsville Thursday. We should point out also they love giving him a hard time about his accent. He hasn't lost it all yet. Brandon, appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Great to talk about the Jumbos. Appreciate your insight on the team. Good luck the rest of the way. Again, one game against Bates still to play before NESCAC tournament play. And then obviously NCAA Tournament is the next goal. In the meantime, we always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
No, just again, super appreciative of the opportunity to jump on here with you, Dave. Thank you for all that you do for our sport, our level. Definitely doesn't go unnoticed, man. So we appreciate it, and roll Bows, man. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. See ya.
Brandon Linton joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Great to chat with him. Good insight on the Jumbos. Heck of a race there in the NESCAC. It'll be fascinating to see if Wesleyan can get out of the conference tournament unscathed on top of everything else. But Jumbos, despite that one game against Trinity, they are a darn good team. And look forward to seeing how it plays out. When we come back, we'll head south of Boston to Dartmouth, Mass, down near the coast. Talk about women's basketball with their head coach. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops. Back with more after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
I believe sportsmanship is it's a mutual admiration and respect for your fellow competitors. We all go through a lot to reach the point where we compete against one another. It's important to realize that. So once we're finally on the field or on the court or on the starting block, we look at each other as fellow human beings and not just competitors. Being able to recognize the hard work that other athletes are putting in creates a more positive and inclusive environment.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We are calling you, all of you. We are calling all Division III schools to join our cause.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
Comprehensive learning is being able to adapt to experiences and apply the things that I learned. Being an athlete and juggling academics helped me grow as a person, and things that I've learned, I was able to apply it in another field, putting them into everyday life. Developing comprehensive learning helped me prioritize certain things to make sure I get to where I want to be.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. Running a little bit behind thanks to a little bit of a technical gremlin. Not sure what happened, but I must have clicked on something that freaked out the system. Mental note, considering other than I think maybe an audio-video delay, people are going to have to tell me at home or I'll have to watch the archive back. We haven't had many problems this year in a rebuilt studio. I'm hoping I didn't jinx it all. Going to talk women's basketball now. We headed south of Boston to Dartmouth, Mass. If you're not sure where Dartmouth is located, look at the state of Massachusetts. Find Cape Cod. Okay, you got it. You got it on the east. Great. Find Rhode Island. I know it's hard to find. You'll find it. Find Rhode Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Got it. Great. In between, that's where Dartmouth, Mass, is located. If you know Falls River, it's off to the east. But seriously, that's your reference. Not quite to the coast there, and not to be confused with Dartmouth College, located up in the middle of New Hampshire on the Vermont border, and I do mean on the Vermont border. It confused me for a number of years in Division III, but the women's basketball team has put the program on the map. The Corsairs are clicking again like nobody's business, but embarrassingly, it's been a while since we've had the Corsairs on this show. I think sometimes I got so used to them winning, I'm like, we'll talk to them next time, or we'll get them another time. And we always run out. They're 19-2 this season, coming off a 24-5 campaign last season. They have not lost since back-to-back wins in the middle of losses back-to-back in the middle of December against Bridgewater State and Hanover. The second one being in Puerto Rico. Coach Matt Ducharme joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline to talk about his Corsairs and the new-fangled Little East Conference to some degree. Coach, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time. Congrats on the season.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love this show, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate you. It's a lot easier when you're on the show for us to do the show. It has been a while since we had you, but I appreciate you finding the effort. Like I said, listen, this is a conference, and this is probably one of the reasons we didn't get you on too much, that has been dominated by Rhode Island College the last few years. They're still having a good year. They're 11-2 in conference play, 16-6, but those 6 losses this year for them are more than the last 2 seasons combined. That's how much they've been kind of on top of this conference, and you kind of lose track of the rest of the LEC as a result. What's it, A, like to come out from behind their shadow a little bit, and B, what's it like to have already knocked them off just a few games back, 74-66, and beat them earlier in the season, 72-49?
Rhode Island College, like you said, they've been at the top of the conference, and they earned it. They deserved it. Last year, going undefeated through the regular season, that's some pretty impressive. You dream about doing that. They, a great program, and I think we have a pretty strong rivalry, which makes each other better. Just the competition between our two programs has been very high, and we're pretty close in proximity. Like you said, between Rhode Island and the Cape, and we're pretty close. That also sometimes we're recruiting against each other here and there, and just that familiarity. But it's a good for both of us. Iron sharpens iron, like they say. So I think it's a good thing. They're still very talented. I think they got probably one of the best point guards. Well, my favorite point guard, Medberry. So they're good, and they're going to be a tough out for sure moving forward. So. Happy to be where we are. Still got a lot of work to do.
Yes. By the way, another team that we're talking about tonight that got knocked off by a surprising W&L team last year that taking place up in Rhode Island. Are they your closest drive?
For in conference, it's between them and Boston. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know the area obviously up there a little bit, but that section of Massachusetts I'm not as familiar with, and admittedly I'm either skipping through Rhode Island, though it's been a long time since I've been to Rhode Island, or I'm skipping through the middle of Mass, so I don't usually get to that section. It's been a long time since I've been to the Cape.
Come on down.
Listen, I do need to get out there. I got to take the family there for starters.
Perfect.
Again, tremendous season, 208 wins for yourself so far that coalesce with this 19 wins this year. You've still got, we should point out, 4 more games, Mass, Boston, then on the road to Southern Maine and Keene State before finishing off the season against Western Connecticut. I guess that's where I want to start first. This little East is a little bit different, a little different since we talked to you last. Are you still getting used to kind of the new look, as it were, of this conference?
When I first started the conference, it definitely had a different look. We've had several coaching changes in the conference, which I've seen them starting to change things around a little bit in a good way. I'm excited for the future. It wasn't that long ago. I think it was 17-18. We had 3 teams from the Little East in the NCAA tournament. So I know there's something that's this is a good, strong conference and on its way up, and hoping to keep competing.
Your team. A bit heavy on the experience side. You've got a lot of either fifth-year graduate students. You've got 3 juniors, 1 sophomore, and a freshman. I don't mean to rip the Band-Aid too hard on you, but it feels like all the eggs are in the basket right now.
It definitely this crew is this group is definitely special. I've had the 5th year, almost all the 5th years have been with me for all 5. The other ones have been some transfers. 2 years ago, we had a team that came back with 5 returners, and we built it. Brought in 8 new players, and that was last year's team and this year's team. So, I have a great staff that does a lot of good work. I think with the transfer portal, things have changed. The landscape of building a team. Sometimes you get lucky, which we did a little bit. But the eggs are in the basket this year. This group is special, and I'm really pushing for them to reach their potential, which I know they can.
Got 5 players in double figures this year, starting with Carly Whiteside, 14 points a game, shoots 52% from the floor. Not bad from beyond the arc if she decides to shoot from out there at 35%. 76% from the floor. Team's leading rebounder as well, by the way. Caitlin Zalowski, 13.5 points a game. Shoots 44% from the floor. Also well from those other departments. On top of that, also pulls in a good amount of rebounds. Tasia Andrews, I hope I said that right.
Tasia, yep.
Yep, Tasia Andrews, 12 points a game. Amaris Mills, 12 points a game, 10.5 from Jane McCauley. They all shoot well. McCauley, worst shooter at 38%, but she's 37% from beyond the arc and an 88% shooter from the free throw line. Andrews and Mills are the only free throws. I'm sure they're taking a lot of free throws at practices to work on that. They all rebound. They all assist. That's a pretty good group of 5. Yes, I know there's other players, But what is it about that 5 in terms of offense that's clicking so well, other than obviously they've been playing a long time together?
And that, they really trust each other. Like the biggest part, like we look at every game is like the field goals made and the assists made. I think it's an important part that we're trusting each other, knowing that it's not one person that's going to win the game and somebody can be off that day. In fact, Jane comes off the bench for us right now.
Right.
So that's a cool thing. And they're just really a trusting group of each other. Like no one's trying to like do more than they should. I'm a big believer the ball finds the energy, and if you're doing the right things, the ball is going to find you. And we built that trust among the players, and they're kind of buying into it.
That's a great saying. Ball finds the energy. I'm going to use that because that's a great point. If you're kind of moping around, no one's going to be passing it necessarily. Or defensively, it's going to find you, not for good reason. This offense is 10th in the nation at 78.5 points per game. Your scoring margin's nearly top 25 at 18 points per game. Scoring defense, okay, you're giving up 60.5, which is pretty solid. It doesn't rank anywhere, but the margin means that you're certainly in control of a lot of things. 3-pointers per game, you're 13th in the nation. 8.5 made per contest, top 20 in defensive rebounds per game. There's a lot of different components there when you dive into the data that really jumps out. What is it about that the data isn't telling us?
Well, I think, like you said, the points scored, I think, can be conflated. I think they do. They play really tough defense. They play hard-nosed defense. We play fast. So sometimes we give other opportunities for other teams to play a little faster than they're used to. And the way this team plays together and for each other, I think is the biggest thing. I've had talented teams before. This one, and they've all done similar things, but this one really has grown together. Like I said, 2 years ago, we brought in 8 players. And for a team to come together as fast as they have and as close as they have, as quickly as they have, is really something I have not seen prior.
Again, you've got a lot ahead of you. What did the 2 losses, though, against Bridgewater and Hanover kind of teach you about the team? We should point out, coming into the Bridgewater game, you guys were 6-0 with wins over Union, Maine Maritime, Smith, Brandeis, Roger Williams, Plymouth State. Plymouth State being the first conference game of the season. You lose 99-85, though, on the road there. And then 11 days later in Puerto Rico, you lose by 5 to a good Hanover team. I think maybe we expected them to be a little bit better this year. They're 16-6, but still a good team. What did those 2 losses, especially 11 days apart in different settings, teach about the team? Teach the team, teach you guys, teach everybody that you're trying to use now.
I think 2 different things. The first loss definitely, just sort of kind of brought us back to some reality.
Especially 99 points, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that'll do it. Just the fact that you can't just walk into a gym and and expect people to give you games. Like everybody wants to. Yeah. Everybody's going to play hard, especially with Bridgewater. That's one of our rivals as well. We play them every year. They're out of conference. But that kind of, I thought it woke us up, and then we went down to Puerto Rico, and I think maybe it was the travel. I don't know. No excuses. They outplayed us. They beat us. But I think they also woke us up, and really that whole trip found us really becoming a better unit as a better team. Really, the bonding down there was pretty special, and they came back, and I think they've learned from those 2 losses, and hopefully it's a long time before we have another one, I hope.
I hear you. Hey, the interesting thing about the Hanover game is you both teams shot exactly the same at 40%. 3-point shooting was actually in your favor. Free throw shooting was in your favor. Rebounding was even. I'm double checking a couple other turnovers was the only thing that jumps out. They go, oh, that didn't really work out. So that was an odd score. Granted, 5-point game, but still kind of surprising. Bridgewater, I mean, they shot the lights out of the building. You're obviously playing well. You got, again, 2-2 here. Home against Mass Boston, on the road against Southern Maine and Keene State, back home against Western Connecticut. What's the talk in the locker room, in the video room, wherever it is? What's the conversation about about these Final Four before you start focusing on that conference tournament?
Each game is an opportunity for us to learn. We talked from the beginning of the year, as you come back, that we had a pretty solid year last year, did some things, and then bringing back almost everybody, you can get lost in a result of what you want at the end of the year. And we talked from day one about the process, and don't get lost in the results. The process, if you go through the process, I know it's cliche these days, but if you go through the process, the results will take care of themselves. But if you get lost in the result, then you're going to have some bad results because of it, or you're just going to be so focused, you're going to miss the things you need to get better every day. And they've really bought into it. I'm sure they're sick of me talking about it sometimes, but I think it's important to really realize that at any, we like those 2 losses, because we didn't take the process seriously, we lost those results. So we kind of really have been really hammering that and taking each day, some of these kids, like you said, seven people are going to be leaving this program. We talk about you leaving it a better place than you found it. And are you going to leave here with any regrets that you didn't give everything you had and do your best to do what we can do. So that's kind of where we're at. I guess it's probably lame and cliche, but I think it's an important lesson.
No, I get it. Before I let you go, I'm curious what it is about Mass-Dartmouth and the Dartmouth area that is so you. This is your alma mater. Graduated there in 2000. You worked in the admissions office. You became an assistant coach with women's basketball. You eventually took over. You're in your 11th season as the head coach. Nothing against you or anything else you haven't seen necessarily anywhere else. This is your neck of the woods. What is it about this campus, this community, this athletic department team, whatever it is, that has got you so hooked?
You said it. The community, I think, is a big thing. I really enjoy going to work every day. I love the other coaches in the athletic department. We have a really strong group. Obviously, I have an affinity for the school because I went there, and on the other side, the men's side is the Brian Baptiste, who's been there for 40-something years. So I probably have said, well, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm just hoping to get the 700 wins like him. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a special place. I just always called it home, and I don't know I think it's my forever home. We'll see.
Well, you're hold on. You're 2/7 on the way to the wins. You got 208 so far.
Yeah.
With just 72 losses. Not too bad. I mean, if you keep going, you just might. I mean, Emmanuel's head coach Andy's got a heck of a goal too, if you really want to aim for it.
I don't know. Andy's still going.
That's the problem. Yosinoff will not retire. It's so insane, true. Right?
It is. Still
hey, Matt, really appreciate the time. Thank you for the insight on your squad. I'm sorry it's been a while since we had you on, but great to get a sense of who this squad is and what your team is all about this season. It's really impressive what you've done, and congratulations. Good luck the rest of the season in the LEC tournament. In the meantime, as you probably remember, we always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Well, the obvious one, I have to say, thank you for what you do. You do make our Division III like a thing. People, this is where they get their information. This is where they see things. This is where they hear things. I think that's an important thing, especially for the student athletes that might not get recognition outside of this. So I think that's an important thing. And then, something I heard yesterday at the Super Bowl, and by no means am I a Phillies fan or a Chiefs fan, although I was very happy that the Eagles won. Wow. But then when Sirianni at the end of the game, when he talked about, greatness, without the greatness of others, you can't be great. And I just think that's such a cool thing. And that goes from your team to your admin to even we can't be great without the greatness of others. And so again, appreciate you for what you do, and keep it going.
Well, thank you. And appropriate chose another D3 guy there in Sirianni. So,
yes. Well
said. Hey, Matt, take care. Good luck. Try and stay out of the weather, too. I know it's going to be rocking here for the next few weeks. Exactly. And, I wouldn't mind some snow here, but you guys stay safe. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Matt Ducharme joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Great to chat with him. By the way, ever wonder, their Corsairs is their mascot? We've got the book about it all, but one thing people may not realize, they're a lot closer to the water there in Dartmouth than people may realize. Water sneaks up into the area there. They're right on the coast, per se. When we come back, we'll head out to La Crosse, Wisconsin, talk men's basketball out there. Still ahead, Catholic women's basketball as well. Jam-packed show. More when we come back. The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit nabc.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's nabc.com or NABC1927 on social media.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all. It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons playing college football. I never thought about the health benefits of exercise until I actually started to talk to coaches in college. It's not only just for performance, it's for life. My coaches instilled the importance of well-being, not only building up strength, mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly is all what it is to be healthy. I decided that I want to go into personal trainer and share my knowledge that I obtained in college about physical and mental well-being.
For the love of the game, but for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com. The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit nabc.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's nabc.com or NABC1927 on social media.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
We turn to, I think my audio's been off the whole time, so I'm going to have to do another rejoin for everybody. But JT Gritzmacher joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline. I was just saying, JT, that this is the WIAC race in Wisconsin has been absolutely incredible like it normally has. You all are rolling right along with it. Yes, 14-12 campaign, but last season, but haven't really missed a beat. You're no stranger to any of this. You're a Whitewater grad of 2013. You knew what you were getting yourself into when you took over this program. How's this season going from your perspective?
Yeah, no, first off, I appreciate you having me on. I think last year was just a lot of getting my feet, getting my feet wet a little bit, trying to get the lay of the land just with the team. Just moving fast with a lot of things, and it put us a little bit behind. But then this year, just a lot more comfortable. Myself, the guys, having our system in place, relationships in place, and it's been awesome. I mean, I think it's been a great year. We're having a lot of fun. Hopefully we got a lot of year left, and it's been, like you said, being in this league, graduating from Whitewater, I know all about the league and kind of what to expect from it. So when I saw the opportunity for La Crosse, I knew it was a job I really wanted to go get.
I don't blame you. Ken Dernbach, again, kind of did a great job himself of getting this Eagles kind of situation, I would argue, back into the mix. They kind of were just around for the most part prior to that. And then you smartly come in and take over after a few years elsewhere. Let's rewind a little bit before we dive too far in. Where did your path take you once you left Whitewater, or I should say, once you graduated as a student athlete from Whitewater?
Yeah, so I originally went to Longwood University, which is in Virginia, as a graduate assistant for 2 years. Did 2 years there. Ended up coming back to Whitewater as kind of like a more glorified part-time, full-time assistant. I was doing admissions. Division III, you're always doing something else.
Yeah.
So then I spent 2 more years there, and then I actually, for 3 years, I went to a junior college in Iowa, Southeastern Community College, and just kind of change scenery, try to see things from a different lens, I guess you could say. And then I was able to get a head coaching job at Bryan and Stratton College, which is in Milwaukee, another junior college, and kind of 3 years there. That was my first taste of being a head coach, and learned a ton at the junior college level. And then La Crosse came open and kind of went after that. But just for me, it was more just trying to find what my niche was level-wise. But I wanted to always, be at every level. I think junior college was awesome because you do a little bit of everything. I thought Division III was awesome because you do a little bit of everything. So, and I thought Division I was awesome because it's Division I. It's the best of the best. So it's been great for me. I think I take a lot of those things, good and bad, and use them here and just try to continue to build this program to another level.
Yeah, man, you have literally seen every experience as a Division III student athlete, now as a coach, a junior college coach, Division I graduate assistant. Bryant and Stratton, is that NAIA or D2?
It's a junior college. It's a junior college in Wisconsin. So,
but some of those Bryant and Strattons are NAIA, right?
Yep. Yeah. So there's a couple on the East Coast there's actually one on the East Coast. It's kind of like there's different satellite locations.
Yeah, they're confusing.
Yeah. Yep. It can be, but most of them on the East Coast, we're the only junior college, and there's one in Ohio, and then on the East Coast they're all NAIAs.
Got it. That's what it is. Yeah, I've run into them in other places, and it seriously confuses the hell out of me.
Oh yeah.
I'm used to the Penn States and all their satellites and how confusing that is, but BNS really went over the edge on me. So again, 17-4 campaign this year. Your only losses so far in conference are to Platteville. I mean, grand scheme of things, that's not bad, right? I mean, they're the top dog for a reason. I know you want to knock them off, but you've had good games with them. 83-75 back on the 8th of January, 83-73 just a few days ago. They've been nip and tuck. You got to feel good about that. I know it's not great to take, what do you call it? soul. What's the term when not a physical win, but a mental win or something. Yeah. It may not be great to get those, but you got to build on something, and that's certainly significant.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, like you said, having 4 losses, kind of piggybacking off of that, I think the biggest thing with our guys this year is just our response to a loss. I don't think we've lost 2 games in a row yet this year, and I think that's huge. If you want to be really good, you got to figure out how to respond. But it's one of those things where they're the top dog in our league. I think last year they were, obviously, and then this year they are, and we got to get to that level. And we've just both times against them, I thought they've been great games, but we just don't do enough. And what I mean by that is we make some mistakes, and when you play really, really good teams, if you make a mistake, they're going to capitalize. And both times they capitalized on us. And like I tell our guys, obviously, it's disappointing, and we don't have moral victories or we don't sit in there and look at like, there you go. We don't sit in there and think, it's okay. We were playing with them. But then again, like I tell them, they're not on our schedule anymore. So like, we can't be sitting here and say, hey, we might see them in the championship or we might see them in the tournament. Because if we don't do what we're supposed to do, there's no chance we're going to see them again. So we got to just kind of focus back on us, take care of business the rest of the way. And then if things fall, we'll probably get another opportunity at them.
Yeah, I mean, nailed it there, right? I was going to make a snarky comment. Well, they'll be in the conference tournament, but you're right. God forbid things implode. You don't even make the conference tournament, which I think you will. But you don't do something in the conference tournament right, you're not going to see them again. Heck, maybe they stumble and you don't see them again either. You got to focus on the here and now. By the way, next up is Whitewater at home, then on the road against Oshkosh and River Falls before returning home to Stevens Point. To your point earlier, lost to Nebraska Wesley in the second game of the season after beating a pretty good Gustavus Adolphus team the day before. Lost 82-73. That was taking place in Eau Claire. You won 6 days later against North Park, 91-62. You then went to, by the way, you should point out, went to Calvin, beat Johns Hopkins and St. John's there, but then you went and played Calvin about 10 days later, and they beat you by 1. That was about their only significant win into the last couple of weeks this season. You got back on the horse, beat Ripon 3 weeks later, 86-74 in your next game. Lost to Platteville in the 8th, beat Stevens Point 3 days later, granted in overtime by 1. Lost to Platteville on the 5th, beat Eau Claire on the road 5 days later. To your point, they have not lost 2 in a row. Sorry, long drag out there. 4 players in double figures. Let's talk about them a bit here. Sam Grieger leads the way at 15.8. Dustin Duruso, I think I said that right. Duruso.
Yeah. Duruso, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Duruso.
Duruso. Good. I got it right. Thanks to your SID. 13.8 points a game. J.J. Pater, 12.5. Carter Thomas, 11.5. By the way, Will Furman is 5th at 9 points a game. We just got done talking to Mass-Dartmouth about this. That's 4 significant bits of scoring with a 5th just on the outside looking in terms of double figures. Can't stop them all.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of the style we want to play. We want to share the ball. I think the last couple of games we haven't done the best job, with our assist numbers. I think the balls have been moving, but we just haven't been making shots. But we don't want to have one guy that we feel like guys can take away or teams can take away. Because for me as a coach, it's hard. If you do have that one guy and he has an off night, now you're trying to find other places to fit in, or guys are playing roles they're not used to. So the way we want to play is we don't really care who scores or who we run plays through. I mean, we'll call sets, but we don't really care who gets credit. And I think that's a credit to our guys, is they don't care who scores, who's the lead scorer. Like they're trying to do whatever it takes to win, and they know if somebody's got it going, they want to get that guy the ball. I mean, we've had a couple guys who've had 30-point games, and we've had a couple guys who've had 20, 25, and when you do those things, you don't have to rely on one guy. And I think that's the biggest thing with us. And I mean, we're doing that, and we're still averaging almost 80 points a game. So to be able to play that way and score a lot of points, I think your players buy into that, and they see that, hey, there's always opportunity for me to score when I'm on the court.
Quickly, Grieger is shooting 52% from the floor, 38.5% beyond the arc, 79% from the line. He's second in assists and blocks, third in steals. 17 of 21 games he's had double figures. Duruso leads the team with 3-pointers made and steals. Pater is 51% from the floor. Your best free throw shooter, leads the team in assists. He's had 6 double-doubles. Thomas, who coincidentally or ironically transferred from Bryant and Stratton, has started the last 14 games for you guys. He was the best player on that team that he transferred from. That's a lot of guys who do a lot of different things. You got to get everybody to buy in. Is that hard?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing with us is it takes time. Like, I think when we were fortunate that last year it took a little more time, and then this year we've had some guys who played together last year. Fitting Carter Thomas. He obviously didn't play with any of these guys. Trying to fit him in. He's trying to learn his role. He's coming from a team where he was asked to score a lot of points, take a lot of shots. Now he comes over here, and we're asking him to still score, but he's maybe not taking as many shots, or maybe doesn't get the opportunities he wants. And he's kind of got to buy into that role. But I think these guys understand, like, they got bigger things they're trying to do than, score 20 a game or whatever it is. They know that if they can do it together collectively, they're a lot stronger, and they're trying to win. Like, that's one thing I give credit to our team and our guys is it's not, they don't just say it, like, they really buy in the way they act every day, the way they carry themselves. They're trying to win. They're very coachable, and they do those things, good things will happen for them.
Team shooting 45% from the floor. That's certainly pretty good. As you said, nearly 80 points a game. It's 79.0. Last time anybody for a lacrosse program in terms of men's basketball as a team scored that high was back in the 76-77 season when it was just smidge under 80 points per game. This is not what everyone's gotten used to. It's got to be fun, right? It's the atmosphere's got to be great. The team's got to be buzzing. There's got to be a buzz on campus.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I think you see, like you said, I think the buzz is good. It was over break. We had a lot of games at home, so that kind of was slow, but we were able to get some teams in there. And now, as we kept winning and playing well, students are back. We got our first home game back now with students this Wednesday. I think it's going to be a pretty good atmosphere. People are excited. And just lacrosse in general, right? Like, all the sports, football has been really good. Our baseball teams, wrestling, like soccer. It's the sports here and the athletics here has been so high that the standard's high, and our guys try to reach that standard because they see all their peers winning and doing these things. So it just kind of motivates everybody. But it's exciting. We have a lot of fun. Practice is fun. We get up and down. It's fast, so it's enjoyable.
You got Whitewater next, coincidentally enough. Your alma mater, obviously. And it's Jared Wisher, who's the head coach of that program, who just took over after Pat Miller retired. I think you two were teammates, were you not?
No. Wicks, he came as an assistant after me. So he was.
Okay, I've got my timing off.
A little bit after me. Yep.
Okay, but still, there's so much familiarity, not because this conference is made up of Wisconsin schools, but there's familiarity because so many of you go to different places within the conference. And again, you're at La Crosse, you were at Whitewater. There's other guys who have done that before. While I'm sure that makes it a friendly environment and all of that, but I got to imagine that also adds to the competitiveness. That adds to the tension. That adds to the, I got to win.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. Like, it's a competitive league. Everybody wants to win, and usually everybody, like you said, everybody knows each other. Everybody's recruiting usually a lot of the same guys, right? So you see each other all the time. You're competing on the court, off the court in that way. And then, like, players-wise too, most of the kids on almost all the teams are Wisconsin kids. You'll get some Illinois, some Minnesota. So they spent, from AAU in 3rd, 4th grade all the way through high school, they played against each other. So they know each other. Or
played with each other.
Yeah, played with each other. A lot of guys on the same teams. And I think that's why in this league, like, anybody can beat anybody, is because most people, when you get here, like, we scout, we got prep, but they know us, we know them. Like, at the end of the day, it's going to come out, and you got to execute what you do. And it's always fun. Like I said, like, obviously graduating from there, it's always fun to go against them. Being on the other side, I enjoy it, and it's been fun.
Is it easier that Pat Miller is no longer the coach?
Yeah, I never had to go against Pat. I sent him a text when he retired. I gave him a call and I told him I appreciated him getting out before we could go against each other.
I could totally see that call taking place.
Yep,
and I could see Pat absolutely having a laugh about it.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, JT, I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for your insight on the Eagles and what's going on with La Crosse. I do have one quick little side question before we get to the final word. Everybody, in the YX goes by their initials, UWSP, UWW, et cetera, et cetera. And if you've got two letters like Stevens Point, it's two. Why is La Crosse UWL? Why not LC?
That's the question for above me. I don't know. I think it just stuck. I think it's the branding. I think it stuck, UWL. I think when the L, like kind of this logo, I think is pretty cool. It's something.
Yes.
When you see it, you just see that eagle head in the L, and I think it just sounds a little better. I think it's got a little more better sound to it, UWL. But you'll hear UWL. People call it LAX. I mean, there's all different things.
Yeah, I was just always curious. Of course, as a guy out here in La Crosse country, took me a while to remember it's two words. Not one.
Yep.
I still make that mistake from time to time. Hey, JT, appreciate the time. Great insight. Congratulations on the season so far. Good luck the rest of the way, including against your alma mater coming up. As always, we have a tradition on this show. We always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Yeah, no, I just appreciate it. I appreciate you having us on. I'm looking forward to the final, hopefully a little over a month of the basketball season, and go Eagles.
Definitely. Hey, take care of yourself. Enjoy the ride, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You bet. Coach Gritzmacher joining us here from La Crosse. Again, they're at home against Whitewater, then on the road against Oshkosh and River Falls. Finish up the season at home against Stevens Point. They are currently in second in that conference race. 2 games clear of Eau Claire, 3 games clear of Stevens Point. There is still a lot to play for. While they may not be able to catch Platteville, they're a game behind, but they've lost both games to them. The only way they're going to be able to catch and pass Platteville is if Platteville rolls over and loses twice. Granted, Platteville lost to Whitewater. Platteville's got Eau Claire, Stout, Whitewater, and River Falls still ahead. There's a random game in here. Well, no, I know what that is. Never mind. So Eau Claire, Stout, Whitewater, River Falls ahead. You never know. You might catch them, but then you lose the tiebreaker. You got to pass them. A lot to play for. We'll see how it plays out. When we come back, we'll talk to Matt. What are we talking about? Oh, yeah, Matt Donahue of Catholic Women's Basketball. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. Plenty more ahead when we come back.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Football has taught me a lot.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we continue to roll along on this Monday evening. Reminder, Thursday's show will be at noon Eastern time. You can always watch an archive or listen to the podcast whenever you need. Just find a podcast on your favorite podcast distributor. If you don't have it there and you have to find it somewhere else, let us know, and we'll try and figure out what that is all about, as it were. In the meantime, you can always email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. You can find us on the socials. That's Twitter, Instagram, Threads. We're on Blue Sky now as well. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville, and YouTube at youtube.com/D3Hoopsville. You can also find us on the Team One Sports app on Android TV, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku, so you can watch us on your big screen. Women's basketball in the Mid-Atlantic region might be one of the most difficult regions in the country. It's up for debate. New England certainly has a conversation about that and elsewhere. But when you got the Centennial Conference and the Landmark alone, you're talking 5, 6, 7 really good women's basketball teams. Well, you got to stand out from that in some way, shape, or form, and that is never easy. But Catholic women's basketball, despite 2 losses this season to Scranton, their only losses of the season are standing out at 18-3. I should say only losses. I forgot about the loss earlier to the Elizabethtown, which they avenged. But they are standing out. And earlier today, I got a chance to sit down with Matt Donahoe to talk about his squad and how good they're playing this season and what he thinks is working so darn well for them and what he's expecting ahead. Joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, it is the head coach of the Cardinals of Catholic. On the women's side, it's Matt Donahoe. Coach, welcome to the show. It's been a little bit since we last had you. I appreciate you taking the time. Good to have you.
Well, it's great to be here. I appreciate you inviting us on and carving out time to talk with us today.
Hey, absolutely. Appreciate it. Yet we are recording this segment, as we've mentioned, in the pregame, or in the pre-intro, whatever you want to say.
This is your pregame.
Exactly. Lots going on this time of year. Matt, 18-3 on the season, coming off a 26-3 campaign last year. 2 20-win seasons in the last handful of years. We're synonymous to the 20-win seasons. If it's not a 20-win season, it's still a pretty solid high-teen win season with Catholic. You have certainly put in place a level of a standard, as it were, of what you expect from this program. You continue to deliver it year in and year out. But when we ever see you, whether on air or off air about this time of year, there's still a lot of unknowns.
Right.
You might have that standard, but you still don't know where things stand.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a crazy time of year right now. Obviously, everyone's in their stretch run. You know, we have our sights set on certain goals and standards, but, you know, we've got a lot of work ahead of ourselves here as we wrap up our last 4 regular season games and enter conference tournament play.
We'll talk about the conference in depth in a bit because it's Landmark's always been a fascinating conference, but I think it's even more fascinating now. But let's just talk about this season, as it were. Come out of the gate playing pretty well after a disappointing finish to the NCAA Tournament, losing to W&L in the second round. Granted, they went on a heck of a run, whisker of being to the Final Four. But you come out of the gate, you got strong wins, big wins, dominating performances, except for one, and that was E-Town in the first half of the season. And the E-Town game admittedly was close, but it was at your place, and it was a loss by 4. What was it about that first half of the season in general for all of you, E-Town included, that was working, wasn't working, that you're still finding yourselves, et cetera? What kind of give us a synopsis of the first half?
Yeah, I mean, the first half of the year, I think we were still in a position where we were more or less figuring out who we were. We graduated 3, really impactful seniors from our team last year, and Sarah White, Kaylee Byrne, and Molly Armando. And what they did for us on the court and off the court as leaders, was something that we had to figure out how to replace. I think if you ask Coach Nold over there at Elizabethtown, I don't know that we loved playing each other so early in the year in the conference schedule in November there. But there it was for us. And, for us at that point in time, we were kind of figuring out who we were as a team, very different with how we were playing this year versus last year. And so, that brought some growing pains early in the year. And so one thing we've done a great job, and this team's done a great job of doing throughout the year, is when we've had those setbacks and we've had those challenges, we've done a really good job of kind of refocusing, learning from those setbacks, figuring out what we need to do better and where we need to grow. And so, when you lose a game early in the year like that, it can be a great thing for you as long as you handle it properly and treat it right. And I genuinely think it was a really good thing for us at that point.
Interesting opponents, too, because I think you caught some who are having maybe off years. Susquehanna is a very good team. she's a very good coach. We saw her at Vegas. I've seen her in the conference tournament. We know how good they are. They're 12-9 this year, and you beat them 73-51 in that December meeting. Moravian, Mary Beth Spurk's program has not been the power we're used to. Granted, our thoughts with her as she is battling cancer, and they're under an acting coach right now. Yep. So obviously they've got distractions, but again, even last year isn't what we're used to. But you did beat a pretty good Marymount squad who's, clicking along, as it were. Sorry, that was last year. Apologies. Messiah squad is who I meant. The other M. Messiah squad, who's only got 2 losses on the season, yourselves and Gettysburg. Vassar, a win over them. They're having another pretty solid season. So outside of the E-Town loss, that first half of the season, you really racked up some good quality wins. You had to feel good going into back into conference play come January, knowing, yes, you had Scranton ahead, but you also had that rematch with E-Town.
Yeah, I mean, we felt great where we were coming out of the trip down to Florida with Messiah and Vassar in particular. Obviously, 2 really talented teams, 2 national tournament teams, perennial national tournament teams. And so the way we competed down there in Florida against both of them really gave us a good sense of where we were at that point in time. So certainly coming out of that with 2 wins, very different style games as well, we thought put us in a position to kind of continue moving forward on the conference slate there. And it's a conference that continues to grow and get better. And, you talk about a depth of talented teams in the conference. And so that's been challenging in and of itself.
Yeah, we pivot to the conference, back into conference play come January. Of course, a bigger conference now. You all still have gotten used to now Lyco and Wilkes being in the conference. Unfortunately, Wilkes really hasn't been kind of a power or a competitive team necessarily. Lyco's having an off year as well at 3-18 currently. But the top half of this conference is tough. And the early part of the season, I remember having a conversation kind of with the D3 guys. We were talking about what conference races might be the toughest, or the top halves might be the toughest. Listen, the Mid-Atlantic's loaded. The Centennial race is loaded with Gettysburg and Johns Hopkins. You can't overlook some others in that conference either, though those 2 have maybe distanced themselves. In the Landmark, while Scranton is a power right now, they're absolutely having a tremendous season at 21-0. It's them, E-Town, Catholic. Susquehanna has made things interesting. You've got Drew in the mix as well. We'll get to the rest. Again, Moravian has usually been tough. Top half of the Landmark is a beast. There are no breaks, because if you do get a break against a Wilkes, the next one up is most likely going to be on top.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been interesting. It's been fun, really, to watch the growth of the league and how teams have come on. Obviously, you talked about Susquehanna and Drew, and then you have Goucher and Juniata that have both taken huge step forwards this year, and they present very different challenges with how they play and their growth. So, you get to a point where you're talking about 7 teams, 8 teams really competing for an opportunity to play in the conference tournament. And with each of them, we found ourselves in different situations to really go down and kind of refocus within the game at some point in time. Playing Susquehanna at Susquehanna, we're down at halftime. Playing Juniata at home, we're down deep into the second quarter. Playing Goucher with their style of play presents very different, very new challenges for us. So, Drew's another one. Every time we felt like we were in a good position in that game, they came running right back at us. So we found the league to be a lot more challenging to navigate this year. But the reality is that depth and the growth of the league has also prepared us for some of the heavier challenges that we've taken on this year.
That was the other thing I was going to mention, not to dwell on Goucher necessarily, but they now are playing more of a Grinnell, for lack of a better description, a system type of program. I haven't watched it in depth, but it presents itself that way. So you now going into an opponent, and you'll have them coming up in the second matchup at home, where they're playing a system that is completely foreign to everybody else. But to the larger point, Juniata's playing a different maybe look than what you're used to. Drew's got a different look than Scranton has. Lyco's play, and while some of these don't have a lot of wins, they're playing systems you're not used to. That's both a challenge, because every time you prep, it's a different opponent. But the advantage, I've got to feel, Matt, is it is going to prepare you for March.
Well, that's the hope, right? When and I think you just hit the nail on the head there with how so many different teams play within our conference. You have Susquehanna that will zone press you. They can throw multiple half-court zones at you, man-to-man looks at you. Drew, of course, Coach Olenowski's done a great job with his 1-3-1 and his extended pressure. Then you've got Goucher with their extended style of play and their pressure and their, as Mike referenced it early in the year when we talked at Goucher, the burn the boat style, right? Like they've committed to that style of play, and you've got to be fit, you've got to be locked in, and you can't rest for a second. And then you have Juniata that will throw a lot of different defensive looks at you as well. So as you're playing so many different teams, nobody plays the same way. So you just can't, it's good in that you avoid the tendency or, kind of that, potential for complacency with how you're preparing, because every team plays so very different. And I don't remember a year in recent history in our conference with so many different styles of play like we've seen this year, and really well-coached styles of play.
Yeah, to your point, in January, you at one point, you restarted conference play with Lyco, Drew, Juniata, Scranton, Goucher, Wilkes, Susquehanna.
Yeah.
That was the first 7 of that January run. Almost all 7 of them have a completely different mentality. Right now, we skipped Moravian. It's Elizabethtown and Scranton, who you've just gone out and played, followed by Juniata, Drew, Goucher, Lyco. So you really do have different looks. But I want to hyper-focus on the last 2. Sure. Coming in, you knew you had the rematch with E-Town, and I got to feel like in practice and video talk, whatever, the conversation was we need to beat E-Town because we now need to equal up with them at the very least to figure out who's going to be second. We can't get swept.
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said we didn't have that conversation in practice as a team. For us, it was we really wanted to see how much we'd grown. We felt like we were a very different team from when we played them on November 20th. I'm sure they were a very different team from that time as well. And so for us, it was about really pouring everything into that game to focus on that game because, obviously it's so important to put yourself in position to potentially compete for one of 2 bye opportunities there when you get to conference tournament play. So, it was something that we felt would carry a tournament environment and atmosphere as well. Elizabethtown did a great job of packing the gym with their fans and their fellow athletes and teams. And so it really forced us to focus and to really stay locked in on our game plan. And it was an environment that was challenging to do so in. So I was really happy with that effort overall. And what it did is it showed us, okay, we have grown defensively. We've grown offensively. Yeah, we still have work to do. Certainly, I'd like to execute a little bit better. I think our players would agree. In late game situations, we can continue to grow in that capacity. And then there's other little intangible areas where we want to keep growing as well. But what we had seen is that we are indeed a very different team, and we're a team that can compete beyond our conference tournament. But it's important to put yourself in the best possible position going into a tournament. And so if we can have a team at that 2 seed, or obviously coming out of Wednesday, still have an opportunity at the 1 seed, certainly that's where our focus is going to be.
You then go, you then had the game against Scranton, and not that I'd ever say a team goes in knowing they're going to lose. You want to knock off Scranton, but to some degree, from the outside looking in, it's one of those, okay, let's see how they do against Scranton. That's more important, in my opinion, than anything else. You held them to 15 less points than the previous outing. You held them to 25% free three-point shooting, whereas in the previous matchup, I think they were 12 of 30 from beyond the arc. You held them to 5 of 20. You out-rebounded them. There was something else that jumped out about that box score, and I'm not remembering what it is off the top of my head right now, but you did a lot of things well in that game despite the loss. I think one thing that jumped out was you only had 2 assists, but in the grand scheme of things, you out-rebounded, you held them at three-point shooting, you held them 15 points less than the previous outing. You had to feel good at least with those tangibles, even if it was an L.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all came out of that game feeling really great about our effort and the things that we did well, the adjustments we made from the first time around against them. The fact of the matter is Scranton is a team very much deserving of its top 3 ranking nationally, and it's a team that doesn't beat themselves. So you have to really be locked in every second, and if you fall asleep for even a second, they're going to make you pay for it. And so for us, we came out of the game saying, okay, there's still an opportunity for us to grow, to get better, to control things that we can control. If you're going to be in a position to win a game against Scranton, you've got to do all the little things. You got to take care of the ball. You got to make free throws. We went in that game, I think we were 11 of 20 from the foul line in that game. And, that's, we look at that in a game that's tied 49 all with about 2 minutes to play. And we had an opportunity to put ourselves in a very different position from a free throw shooting standpoint. And so, listen, I'm sure they came out of the game as well, looking at things that they're going to want to do better. But overall, we walked away from that experience. Okay, here's another opportunity for us to learn. As I mentioned earlier, this team's always done a great job this year of saying, all right, we may not have gotten the result that we wanted, but we know where we are as a team and who we are. And if we make just a few more corrections, if we grow as coaches, if we grow as players, if we can execute better, a little bit better down the staff, if we can control the variables that we can actually physically control in the course of the game, then perhaps we're in another position moving forward. And so that's kind of where we are right now with that. It's very easy to get caught up in the, man, we didn't win that game. But, for us, it's more, did we put ourselves in a position to win that game? Were we in a position where we showed growth from where we played them a month earlier? And the answer is yes to both of those. So obviously they present a lot of challenges. They're incredibly well coached. They have a huge veteran presence on their team. And so if we're going to find ourselves in a position to actually get over the hump against them, we're going to have to be even more dialed in and even cleaner with everything we're doing out there.
The other stat that jumped out at me was that turnovers were equal.
Yep.
By the way, to your point, 19 to 24 from them on the free throw line, 11 to 20 for you guys. So certainly a dynamic there, considering you also out-fouled them by about 10, 24 to 14. So you put them on the line, certainly, but they gave you your chances, as you point out. But to the turnover mark, 16 for you guys. Interesting enough, though, they forced 12 steals of those 16. You guys forced 15 turnovers, but only 6 steals. Just those inside the box things that, are fascinating. Let me talk about this team, though. You're out, despite the results, those 3 losses in two to Scranton. You're still scoring 74 points plus a game, allowing 52 plus a game. For anybody doing the math at home, it's pretty much, you're outscoring your opponents by about 22 per contest. This is still an offense that shoots about 41%, 34% from beyond the arc. You tend to out-rebound your opponents by about 5.5 per contest. There's a lot this team does well, despite what we just talked about. It didn't quite pull off. And again, that's what you're building on.
Yeah, I mean, we're a team that's really prided itself on our defense and transition this year. We're a very balanced team that shares the ball well. You're not going to find someone scoring, leading us and scoring 20 a night every night. That's just not who we are. Do have players that can carry the load. And so when you look at our numbers, I think we're 5 or 6 players between 8 and 14 points per game. But yet any one of those players has the opportunity and has the ability to, score 20 or 25 in a given day if we need them to do it. And so some nights it's Keegan Douglas carrying the load. Other nights it's Anna Scobler carrying the load. Carly Mulvaney's had some great games, as has Carrie Flaherty, Alexa Kana, Amelia Kennedy off our bench. And so, we pride ourselves on that balance and trying to become a team that it can be really difficult to guard. Our thought process is if we have a lot of contributions from different areas, then it makes us a little bit more of a challenge to figure out what you want to take away on a given night. So for us, when we've been at our best, we've defended incredibly well. We've gotten out in transition. We've created turnovers and steals. And that's really who we are as a program. And that's why, part of that is when you play a team like Scranton, they were able to slow us down. They were able to take care of the ball. And so, if you're not able to generate turnovers against a team like that, and they did that against us, then you have to find other ways to win. So that's the next step in our evolution as a program, is finding those other ways to win games like that and to evolve as a team so that, we're able to execute better in that half-court setting, when we're not able to get out in transition.
Skoblik, who's a junior, leads the team in scoring at 14.5. She's also got 6.5 rebounds per game. That's second best. One of the top assists as well. You got 4 players with 40-plus assists, and actually she's number 1 by 1 over Kenna, who's got 45, and Kennedy, who's got 44. You also have Douglas with 41 assists. So I'm sorry, I'm going to get personal fouls. Apologies. Assists. Skoblik's got 62, so she's plenty ahead. There's 5 players with more than 4. I can read. I need to get my glasses checked. These are new. So Skoblik's leading the way in assists, rebounds, and scoring. Shoots pretty well at 48%. Doesn't take an outside shot. To the free throw contest, I know you probably want to talk to her about that. Douglas, a senior or graduate student, he's got is a double figures at 11.5, 10 points from Mulvaney and Flaherty at 10, and as you mentioned, Kennedy. So obviously it's that core, and you've got players who will return. I don't think anybody wants to see Skoblik back in the conference next season necessarily. It's all clicking. So what are we talking about in the Final Four of the regular season? You're on the road for 2 at Juniata and True. You're then home against Goucher and Lyco to finish things off, trying to battle for that number 2. Tiebreakers are going to go deep should E-Town lose to Scranton in the final game of the regular season. You're playing for that number 2. What's the conversation in the locker room, in the practices, et cetera, about what this Final Four race it really means before you get to the conference tournament?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's really been about, we have designs and focus on playing into March this year. That's our goal. That's our hope, is that there's something bigger beyond our conference. And so we know that each game carries an importance here on out as we wrap up. So we try not to talk too much about, this seed in the conference or this game in the conference or that, because I think it is very important to focus one game at a time, because probably better than I with all the minutiae and mathematics that go into earning that opportunity to play into March. One slip up can cost you, and so for us it's one game at a time. Can we put ourselves in a position so that we're one of those teams that gets selected to play when the conference tournaments wrap up in the national tournament this year?
I can't believe, Matt, you're in your 17th season at Catholic.
Thank you for that reminder, by the way.
It just throws me because I don't feel like you've been here that long. 5 years prior to that, or the 5 years prior to that, you were at Elmira. You had been at Division II before that. A graduate of Centenarium, New Jersey, we should point out. 17 years in D.C., running a program that basically in your time frame has been very consistent. You helped kind of turn this program from an average okay team, maybe an afterthought on the men's to the men's program, to a top landmark foe, even if you didn't make the NCAAs that year. What's that ride been like?
It's been a lot of fun. When we came here, my family and I, it was the idea that we could really build something here. And I've been really fortunate and blessed to have a lot of incredibly talented players, a lot of incredibly talented assistant coaches through the years. And, it's put us in a position to enjoy this ride. I think I like the way you phrase that, because I think it's easy to get caught up in this game or that game or competing at this level or that level. And I think it's important to really enjoy the ride while it's going on. And so for us, we felt like we could build something here, and we've been fortunate to do that. And we believe we have something special to offer our recruits and our student athletes. I look at all the things that they go on to do while they're here and then beyond. That's a whole nother conversation, the amazing things that they do in life beyond their playing days here. But it's just been an amazing experience. It's home for me. My wife and I, we have a son who just graduated from Catholic last spring. And we might have 2 others on the way. We'll see if they decide to come to Catholic or do the Catholic route or go elsewhere. But it's really been an incredible family experience on the court and off.
Well, Matt, appreciate the time you gave us. We could talk to you even more in depth about the whole road. Maybe somewhere down the road when we start debuting those kinds of segments, we'll get you back on. But congratulations on the season that is. I know you're in this big battle for the landmarks, so I appreciate you giving us that perspective and big 4 games coming up as we talked. As always, though, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to shout out to those who maybe tuned in?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having us on and giving us the opportunity to talk about our program and our journey here. Beyond that, and perhaps more importantly, really appreciate all that you do there with Hoopsville and D3 Hoops to shine such an incredible spotlight on the men's and women's game at the Division III level. It really is a unique look inside of our sport, and it really just provides so much great exposure for our student athletes, and really appreciate all that you do as well.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for being willing to come on and be flexible with us as well. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the run. We'll look forward to catching up with the Cardinals, hopefully in March.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Matt Donahue. Once again, Matt Donahue joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. I cut that off a little bit at the very end. I apologize for that. Great to have Matt on the show. Great to catch up with the Cardinals down there in D.C. Having a great season. Got that win over Elizabethtown. That certainly was key. Normally we would take a break right now, but we went over the show by so much that we're just going to wrap from this point. New women's top 25 I don't think has gotten out published yet. So as we hit the air, we're not quite there. I don't know how much is really going to change. NYU is still absolutely clicking on all cylinders. If you look at the top 10, they're 20-0. They got Emory and Rochester on the road, then Case Western, and Carnegie Mellon, Case Western at home, and then Brandeis on the road to finish the season. Illinois Wesleyan did suffer its first loss to Carthage on Saturday. They've got North Park, Milliken, and then North Central Augustana. So seemingly, Illinois Wesleyan will probably fall out of second, and Scranton will move in to second. Scranton, in the meantime, is 21-0. They've got Moravian on the road coming up this week, and then Susquehanna at home. Then Lyco and Elizabethtown home and away. Bowdoin is clicking on all cylinders. They're 22-0. They've got 2 games at Wesleyan and Trinity, Connecticut to stay undefeated for the regular season. Oshkosh is 20-1. That one loss coming back on the 25th of January. They've got 3 of the next 4 actually on the road. They're at Stevens Point, La Crosse, then home against Eau Claire, but then back on the road against Stout. Brad Fisher's squad playing really well. Whitman continues to play well. Their only loss came back in December against Lewis and Clark State, which is a non-Division III. So Whitman is undefeated in Division III play. They actually have 3 of their next 4 at home. George Fox Pacific and Whitworth in a row at home, then finish at Linfield. Smith quietly playing well, and Hersey's squad is dangerous. They are 19-1. Their one loss coming back to that Mass-Dartmouth squad that we talked to earlier. They've got Tufts and Mount Holyoke. So Tufts at home, Mount Holyoke on the road, MIT at home, Emerson at home, Wellesley at home. The last 4 are conference. Obviously, Tufts is non-conference. Gustavus Adolphus, Laurie Kelly's got her squad at 20-1. Their loss to Bethel in mid-January. They've got St. Olaf on the road, then St. Benedict at home, Carrollton on the road, then St. Cat at home. Gettysburg's going to be interesting. I'll see what the voters do. 19-2, lost to Hopkins 59-51 in an ugly game we talked about on Thursday's show. Then they beat Muhlenberg unceremoniously 89-42. The third quarter was a show, to say the least. They've got Dickinson at home, then on the road at Haverford and McDaniel before finishing the regular season against Bryn Mawr on February 22nd at home. So that's your top 10. I suspect NYU will, not NYU. Illinois Wesleyan will slip a little. Scranton will move up. Bowdoin will move up. I suspect Oshkosh and Whitman. Maybe Illinois Wesleyan slots in somewhere around number 5 or 6. I suspect Gettysburg will fall out of 9. They'll probably stay in the top 15, though. So Newport probably moves into the 9th spot. Baldwin Wallace into the top 10, I would suspect. Yeah, we'll see. It's interesting how deep Division III women's basketball has gotten, but the top have so few losses. It's an interesting dichotomy, and we'll see how the top 25 shakes out. I was keeping track of things, and I don't see an update that top 25 is coming. I'm actually going to cheat. Bear with me. No. Yeah, it's not even published behind the scenes. So That's going to do it for us. A reminder, Thursday's show will be at noon Eastern. We're going to try and maybe do this dose reverse segment back again. Well, you have to stay tight on that. We'll have that segment plus we'll see. I'm not sure. I do want to get some other experts in and get some conversation going on all of that. We're going to figure it all out. I'm not sure if we'll do it Thursday. Maybe we'll do it next Monday. We'll see. Next Monday's at 7. Actually, this Thursday show, the 13th, and the show on the 27th are our two 1 p.m. game or noon shows. Sorry, noon Eastern shows. So keep track of that. If you ever have ideas for us, you want to email us, feel free. hoopsville@d3sports.com. You can also contact us through our social media accounts. We do try and keep those checked fairly often. I want to thank our guests on today's show. We, again, had an absolutely awesome show today. Appreciate all of those who joined us. Bear with me because I had it and then I lost it. Let's see here. Hoopsville/archives. I'm typing as I speak because I know the back doors of where I want to go. There we go. Let's see. Oh, that's not going to get me there. That didn't work out. There we go. Nope. Oh, my Lord, I am typing too fast. There we are. So, again, David, thanks for his help there. And Catholic, thanks to Jeff there. Of course, Christopher Newport, it is good friends of ours at Newport. Rob Silsby always gives us good intel, and lurking behind the scenes is his boss. Thanks to everybody for their help. I said I was going to have our Give Back to Hoopsville page launched by today. It didn't happen. Hopefully by Thursday we'll get that launched so people can see how they can give back, whether it's shopping on an Amazon account for us or a B&H account, whether it's donations. And there's going to be starting hints of what we're building where you can, kind of like Patreon, donate to us and get extra content from us. If we get that rolling, the extra content will be huge. And with that, we sign off. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. You've been listening to Hoops Hope presented by D3Hoops.com. Thanks to our friends at the National Association of Basketball Coaches and Women's Basketball Coaches Association as well. And thanks to all of our friends at Hudl Blue Frame for their assistance with everything we do. We'll take a break and be back on Thursday at noon Eastern. If you've been listening to the archive, thank you. Listen to the video. Again, sorry for the lip sync issues. We're going to work on that. I don't think it's on our end, but we're going to eliminate everything we can on our end just to be sure and go from there. In the meantime, if you want to talk Division III basketball, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Hoopsville, and we'll see you on Thursday.